My stepmother, Linda, stood on the porch with a smug grin that could curdle milk. She handed me a terrifyingly official-looking envelope. 30 days, she said, checking her nails like she was ordering a latte instead of destroying my life. I want you out in 30 days. I'm selling the place, and frankly, you're dragging down the property value. I looked at the envelope. Then I looked at her. She thought she held all the cards because my father had just passed away without updating his will. She thought the house automatically went to her. She thought I was just the broke, grieving stepdaughter she could finally kick to the curb. But Linda made one fatal mistake. She was so busy planning her victory lap that she forgot to check the county clerk's records. If she had, she would have seen whose name was actually on the title. What happens when a greedy stepmom tries to evict the actual owner of the house? Let's just say, the eviction didn't go the way she planned. Welcome back to Voices of Karma, where betrayal speaks and justice answers. If you believe greedy people deserve a harsh reality check, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. It helps us find more people who love justice just as much as you do. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story where karma comes knocking. Now, let's get into the story. To understand why this moment was so satisfying, you have to understand Linda. My dad married Linda when I was 22. I was already out of the house, finishing college, so I didn't have to live with her, thank God. But even from a distance, I knew she was bad news. She was the kind of person who calculated the price of a gift before she even opened it. She treated my dad less like a husband and more like a wallet with a pulse. Dad was a good man, but he was passive. He hated conflict. So when Linda demanded a new car, he bought it to keep the peace. When she wanted to remodel the kitchen for the 3rd time in 5 years, he signed the check. He worked himself to the bone at his construction business to fund her lifestyle. About 3 years ago, Dad's health started to decline. It was subtle at first, fatigue, shortness of breath. Linda, of course, was annoyed by it. He's just being lazy, she'd tell her friends on the phone while he was resting in the other room. I started coming around more often to help him with the business. He ran a small but successful contracting company, and he wanted me to take over eventually. During those visits, Dad and I got close again. And one afternoon, while Linda was out shopping with the girls, which usually meant spending Dad's money at the casino, he sat me down at the kitchen table. He looked tired. Defeated. "Kiddo," he said, "I think I made a mistake." He didn't have to say her name. We both knew. He told me he was worried about what would happen to the house if he passed. It was the house I grew up in. My mom and Dad built it together before she died. It meant everything to him. "Linda keeps asking me to put her name on the deed," he whispered, looking at the door to make sure she wasn't home. "She says it's for safety, but I know she just wants to sell it and move to a condo in Florida the second I'm gone." He was right. Linda hated the house. She hated the garden my mom planted. She hated the memories. She saw the 4-bedroom colonial as nothing more than a giant pile of cash. That's when we came up with a plan. A plan that had to stay secret. Dad didn't want a divorce. He was too sick for the stress of a legal battle. But he wanted to protect his legacy. So, he offered to sell me the house. Yes, sell it. On paper, it would look like a standard real estate transaction. I had some inheritance from my grandmother and savings from working, and Dad gave me a gift of equity to cover the down payment. We went to a lawyer quietly. We signed the papers. I officially bought the house from my father for a fair market price, though he essentially made sure the financing was incredibly easy for me. The key was the life estate clause we added privately. It allowed Dad, and Linda, to live there rent-free until Dad passed away. We never told Linda. Why? Because Dad wanted peace in his final months. He knew if she found out the house wasn't his anymore, she would make his life a living hell. So, we let her believe she was the queen of the castle. Fast forward to 2 months ago. Dad passed away from a sudden heart attack. The grief was crushing. But for Linda? The grief seemed performative. At the funeral, she cried loudly when people were watching, but I saw her checking her watch during the service. The very next day, literally 24 hours after we put my father in the ground, she started talking about assets. "We need to do inventory," she said, eyeing Dad's tool collection. "And the house, it's too big for me. I'm going to contact a realtor next week." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. I wanted to see how far she would go. I wanted to see if there was a single shred of decency in her. Spoiler alert, there wasn't. For the first month after the funeral, I stayed at the house frequently to help sort through things. In reality, I was securing my dad's personal items before Linda could pawn them. Linda became unbearable. She started treating me like an intruder in my childhood home. "You can't park in the driveway," she snapped one morning. "That's for the realtor. I'm having an appraisal done today." "Linda," I said calmly. "You haven't even gone through probate yet. You can't just sell the house." She laughed. A cold, sharp sound. "Probate? Honey, I'm his wife. In this state, the spouse gets the house. It's automatic. I've already talked to a lawyer friend of mine. You get, well, whatever junk is left in the garage." She was so confident. She was banking on the fact that Dad died without a will, intestate. Usually, she'd be right. If the house was in Dad's name, it would likely pass to her. She started bringing prospective buyers over before she even listed it. I'd walk out of the bathroom to find strangers measuring the hallway. "Who are these people?" I asked. "Investors," Linda beamed. "They want to flip the place. They're offering all cash. Fast close. You're going to let them get Dad's house?" I asked, feeling my blood pressure rise. "It's my house," she corrected me, pointing a manicured finger at my chest. "And I'll do whatever I want with it. Frankly, you're lucky I'm letting you stay in the guest room. But that ends soon." That brings us back to the eviction notice. It was a Tuesday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Linda walked in, dressed in a power suit, holding that envelope. 30 days, she said, dropping it on the counter. I picked it up. It wasn't a court-ordered eviction. It was a letter from her lawyer friend, demanding I vacate the premises so the owner could prepare the property for sale. "You're kicking me out?" I asked. "It's nothing personal," she lied. "I just need the space clear. The investors want a final walkthrough next month, and having you lurking around is off-putting. You understand. Where am I supposed to go?" "You're a grown woman," she scoffed. "Figure it out. You have 30 days. If you're not gone, I'll have the sheriff remove you." She poured herself a cup of coffee, my coffee, and smiled. "Oh, and take your dad's old truck from the driveway. It's an eyesore." I looked at her. I really looked at her. I saw the greed. The lack of empathy. The sheer arrogance. "Linda," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "Excuse me? Are you sure you want to involve lawyers? Because once you start that process, you can't stop it." She rolled her eyes. "Don't threaten me. You have no money. You have no claim. Get out." I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I just took the letter, walked to my room, and packed a bag. "Leaving already?" she called out from the kitchen. "Good girl." I got in my car and drove away. But I wasn't leaving for good. I was going to my safe deposit box. For the next 29 days, I went radio silent. Linda left me a few voicemails, mostly gloating. "I've got a buyer lined up," she chirped in one message. "They're signing the contract on the 1st, make sure your junk is gone." She was selling a house she didn't own. This is actually a crime, fraud, but I wasn't just going to stop the sale. I was going to humiliate her. On the 30th day, the deadline she gave me, I pulled up to the house. There was a moving truck in the driveway. But it wasn't for me. Linda was moving her stuff out because she thought she was closing the sale the next day. She was directing movers, shouting orders. Careful with that vanity. It's vintage. She saw my car and stormed over. I told you to be gone. Why are you here? I'm here for the walkthrough, I said, stepping out of the car. I had a folder in my hand. The walkthrough is for the buyers, she spat. Get off my property before I call the police. Actually, I said, please call them. I'd love for them to be here. She stared at me, confused. Then, a black sedan pulled up. It was the investors, a couple of guys in suits who looked like sharks. Linda, one of them said. We're ready to sign the final papers. Is the tenant gone? She was just leaving, Linda said, glaring at me. I'm not the tenant, I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Linda turned purple. She's my stepdaughter. She's delusional with grief. Just ignore her. I opened my folder and pulled out a document. It was a certified copy of the deed. Gentlemen, I said to the investors. I'm not sure who you're buying this house from, but it's not her. I handed the deed to the lead investor. He looked at it. He adjusted his glasses. He looked at the date stamp, from 3 years ago. Then he looked at the name. Linda, the investor said, his voice dropping 2 octaves. Why is this woman's name on the title? What? Linda snatched the paper. Across the top it clearly read, owner, Michelle, my last name. That's fake. She forged it. Linda screeched. It's recorded with the county, I said. You can check it online right now on your phone. Parcel number 402-B. Go ahead. The investor pulled out his phone. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I've ever heard. Linda was shaking. It says, owner, Michelle, my last name, the investor read. Date of sale, 2021. He looked at Linda with pure disgust. You tried to sell us a property you don't own? Do you know that's fraud? We have your signature on an intent to sell document. Linda stammered. She turned to me, eyes wild. You tricked me. You stole this house from your father. I bought it, I corrected her. Dad sold it to me years ago because he knew exactly what you would do the moment he died. He wanted to protect his home from you. The investors didn't wait around. We're done here, the lead guy said. And you'll be hearing from our legal department regarding the deposit we gave you. They got in their car and peeled out. Linda was left standing in the driveway, the deed in her hand shaking like a leaf. You can't do this, she whispered. I have rights. I have spousal rights. You had a life estate, I said calmly. It allowed you to live here as long as Dad was alive. That expired the moment he passed. I let you stay out of kindness while you grieved. But then, you tried to evict me. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. So, I decided to return the favor. I handed her a notice to quit. Since you're not on the lease, and you're not the owner, you are technically a guest who has overstayed their welcome. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises. Linda screamed. She threatened. She threw the paper at me. I'm not leaving. This is my house. If you're not out in 3 days, I said, repeating her words from a month ago, I'll have the sheriff remove you. She tried to fight it. She went to a lawyer that afternoon. I can only imagine that conversation. Any competent lawyer would have looked up the title, seen I had owned it for 3 years legally, and told her she had zero case. 3 days later, I came back with a deputy sheriff, just in case. The house was trashed. Not destroyed, but messy. She had taken everything that wasn't nailed down, even the light bulbs. But she was gone. I changed the locks immediately. A few weeks later, I got a letter from her lawyer. I expected a lawsuit. Instead, it was a plea. Linda was broke. Apparently, she had significant gambling debts I didn't know about, which explains why she was so desperate for the fast cash sale of the house. She was asking for a settlement from the estate. I sent back a copy of the receipt for the light bulb she stole, and told her that was her settlement. I haven't heard from her since. I moved into the house. I fixed up the garden my mom planted. And every morning, when I drink coffee in my kitchen, I think about Dad. I think he knew exactly how this would play out. He knew Linda's greed would be her undoing. He gave me the weapon, the deed, but he let her pull the trigger. She tried to kick me out of my own house. Instead, she evicted herself. And that is the story of how a greedy stepmom lost everything because she didn't bother to check the paperwork. What do you think? Did I go too hard on Linda, or did she get exactly what she deserved? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Karma for more stories about bad people getting their just desserts. Thanks for watching, and remember, karma is always watching. See you in the next one.